Okay. Are you guys ready? It looks like we're
see
live on YouTube.
There we go.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us for Wordfence Office Hours on this lovely Tuesday morning, afternoon, depending on where you are. Thanks for everyone who joined us early today, and our chat has been extremely active. That has been really fun to see. I'm going to switch us to the gallery view so that we can see everybody's face. I am Kathy Zant, Director of Marketing here at Wordfence. I've got with me Tim Cantrell and Scott Miller, who are our customer service engineers who help all of our premium and even our free customers get the most out of Wordfence. If you're just joining us, drop in the chat off to the right and let us know where you're coming from. Also, let us know how you're using WordPress. You can just give us, can't type in a giant tome, but just drop a little note of like how you're using WordPress. Do you have a membership site? Are you doing e-commerce? Are you just blogging? Are you managing a lot of different sites? Just so we can kind of get an idea of how you're using WordPress and how we can sort of tailor this presentation to your needs. If you are joining us later, this will be obviously recorded and will be saved on YouTube. So if you'd like to refer back to it, but if you're joining us, we do this every Tuesday at 9 a.m. Pacific time and noon on the East Coast of the United States. And so you can join us at any time. Hit subscribe. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you hit the little bell icon, you'll get a notification when we are going live or when we post a new video. We do post videos helping you get the most out of Wordfence. And we also post proof of concepts when our threat researchers find vulnerability in a plugin or a theme. They will often go through a proof of concept basically showing how that vulnerability works so that other security researchers, as well as plugin developers and theme developers, can understand how these vulnerabilities work so that they can make more effective decisions when they're coding. So we'll get started talking about alerts in just a couple of minutes. Tim, how are things in Knoxville?
Things are good in Knoxville. We're still locked down a little bit. I mean, not terribly locked down, but locked down enough they're starting to open up restaurants again. So I'm excited about that I don't have to eat my own cooking for, as much as I was before. But it's we're kind of coming out of it, so that's good. The kids aren't here this week, which means that yay, I can actually work. So I'm excited about that. They're off visiting the grandparents for a week to give me a little bit of calm and peace amidst everything. We've had a couple of comments about the shirts.
Oh, really? Do you like the shirts?
We have, yeah.
Show of hands. Does anybody like the shirts? Who likes the shirts? Post in chat.
Now this came about because we have a blocking page. Wordfence, the plugin, has a blocking page, and we wanted to make sure that people understood, when they got a block, like say, for example, if somebody's using Wordfence on their site and they decide to block Canada because they're just, I don't know, mad at maple syrup or something. Somebody from Canada visits that website, they see a blocking message and they understand why they're getting it. And so all of the sites that have that blocking in effect will have this protected by Wordfence little seal on it. So this was a ninja swag item that Tim pulled together. So there's only 3 of these shirts in the world?
There are 4 shirts, 4 of those.
There's 4.
But my family hit me up for them. They were all like, "Hey, oh, I want one of those." I'm like, "There's only 4. There can only be 4." So.
There may only be 4.
Yeah. There can only be 4.
Hal, I'm seeing a little bit choppiness too. So I don't think it's just you. It may be something with YouTube in general. So hopefully that won't be too much of a detriment to getting the show on the road here. We're excited to bring you
a
topic about alerts, because this is something that everybody has to deal with, and alert fatigue, especially for people that manage multiple sites, people that manage one site. It's a huge problem, isn't it, Kathy?
Yeah, it definitely is. And I mean, it's a huge problem just in our world today with all of the digital content that's coming at us. You know, you have your email inbox, you've got all of your social media coming at you. And how do you manage all of these different types of alerts that are coming at you? So we're going to talk specifically about those Wordfence alerts because, you know, having good data at the right time helps you make good decisions. So if you want to follow, we are having some problems with, I think it's Zoom not giving enough not enough of a rate refresh or whatever they call it. I should know these things since we actually created a movie open. Should know the technical terms of movies and whatnot. But yeah, YouTube is not getting enough frames or whatever, so that they are not, it's a little bit choppy, but hopefully Zoom will get their act together.
And then, like Mark said, our ops team is actually working on it right now, trying to work that out and figure out how we can fix that. So hopefully we'll get everything straightened out through the course of the broadcast.
The good thing is we'll freeze a lot. So if anybody needs to be amused, they might get a lot of, funny faces when we freeze for 5 or 10 seconds. So
Kathy makes the best freeze faces. Best. Awesome. There it is, right there.
It really is about the comedy. It is about the comedy there, isn't it?
Whoever sends the best, wait, no, we needed to do a contest. Whoever sends the best freeze shot of Kathy's face, and doing the best thing, we'll have to come up with some sort of something to send them. That would be awesome.
Yeah, we'll gamify the whole office hours thing to keep everything going. All right.
I like it.
I'm also
love it.
Getting some. Okay, so we are going to get started. It's 7 minutes after, and the comedy will continue, but we'll just have to intersperse it with information now. So first of all, just a note, if you're on Twitter or any social media, we are Wordfence everywhere. Here comes the garbage truck, right on schedule. Exactly like perfect 2 timing. Hours late, but perfect timing always. At least the lawn equipment and the power washer have stopped. Okay, so you can also follow us individually on Twitter. I'm Kathy Zant on Twitter. Tim, what's your handle?
At TCAN1337, TCAN1337.
Great.
Scott,
and
what's your handle?
About, Scott?
Mine is at WF Scott Miller.
Excellent. Okay, and Wordfence, we're everywhere. If you're on Twitter, let us know in the chat. Also, if you're using a different social media where you prefer to follow things, let us know that too, so we can, have information. Obviously, getting information from Wordfence about new vulnerabilities that our threat intelligence team has found incredibly important. So we want to make sure we get that information to you as fast as possible. Hopefully you're on our mailing list, but if not, and you want it on social media, pop over and let us know. Where's your favorite place to get information? Is it Facebook? Is it Instagram? Is it Twitter? Is it some other social media? Please don't say TikTok. It's someplace else. Let us know where you like to get all of your information. So we are doing office hours because we often went to WordCamps and traveled all over the United States and even to Europe to go to WordCamps and talk to WordPress users everywhere. And now we're in lockdown like most of us are, and we wanted to stay connected with you. So here are our lovely faces to entertain and inform and just keep the connection going during these crazy times. Just a general administrative note, if you have a specific thing that you would like to get information about your site, remember that the chat is a public forum. Anyone can see that. Don't share any personal information there. If you need to contact us about personally identifiable information like your site and you're having specific issue, you can write to us at feedback@wordfence.com and put Wordfence office hours in the subject line so we know that you are here watching us, and we will get back to you if you have something sensitive you need to talk about. My name again is Kathy Zant. I am Director of Marketing here at Wordfence. Tim, you are in customer support, and you were what, employee number 3?
Employee number 3. And I do pretty much, if you ever have to do anything premium support, you've talked to me and probably catch me in the forums on occasion too. I run the customer support team with with Scott down here, and we service all you guys. And so, glad to help you. Been here since Dirt, right? Dirt was made, and then I got this job. But best job ever. Love working for Wordfence.
Definitely
Yeah,
agree.
and
I
Scott-
joined too late to have a good employee number. Tim got 3. I'm a little further down the line. I've been with Wordfence for about 2 years now, working with WordPress for a while. Started out as a hobby, then started building some sites for some local businesses, and started paying more attention to security then. And that's when I came across Wordfence.
Excellent. Great.
Yep.
And just as a note, we've been doing these for, has it been about a month now? We haven't really been, this is our second or third one on YouTube, but there's
YouTube.
additional third YouTube. Okay. So we have some additional Wordfence office hours on YouTube. If you want to if you're just getting started with Wordfence, there is an episode a couple of weeks ago where you can get some information and get a walkthrough on setting up of the firewall, login security so that you're using 2-factor authentication, using Wordfence Central, which is a free tool that works both premium protected sites as well as the free sites, and allows you to manage the security of all of your sites in one location. And then we also talked in another episode about Wordfence blocking live traffic, how to use that tool, as well as rate limiting. Again, a reminder to subscribe to our blog because we do a lot of threat research. So we have a threat intelligence team that watches all of the vulnerabilities that get discovered by other security researchers, but they also do primary research as well. So they'll take a plugin and see if there's all of the security mechanisms in place within that code. And if there's not, they privately contact those plugin and theme developers to ensure that those plugins are patched, and also write firewall rules that go into the Wordfence plugin, into the firewall to make sure that your site is protected. So all of our premium customers, a big thank you to you for supporting all of that. Just some high level news things that we have covered recently. Last week, we published Chloe Chamberlain, who's with us today and is in the chat. She actually found a vulnerability in a very popular plugin. It's on over 400,000 WordPress websites called Google Site Kit. And she found a vulnerability that allowed an attacker to discover a method of basically taking over Search Console. So anyone who's doing any kind of SEO work, you know how important Search Console is. And if someone takes that over, the danger that poses, they can basically remove pages from the search engine result pages. They can do all kinds of nefarious things with black hat SEO. So Chloe discovered that, worked with the Google Site Kit plugin team, and made sure that was patched, made sure that Wordfence was protecting against any exploits if a hacker did find that before it was patched. And also last week, Ram Gall, one of our QA professionals who's also in the chat, if you want to say hi to Ram.
Hi, Ram.
Ram keeps an eye on all of the threats and all of the attacks that are coming at WordPress. And he noticed that there was an increased attack rate hitting all of the WordPress sites that Wordfence is protecting. And we're on over 3 million WordPress sites worldwide. So if there's an attack hitting WordPress, we usually see it pretty quickly. And he saw that this attack was pretty large. And they were targeting smaller plugins, but still, the big story was that it was an extremely large attack. So he kept an eye on things. And last week, it grew to sort of astronomical proportions. So all of that research is on our blog. If you want immediate notice that those posts are coming out, make sure you subscribe to our blog, because we mail in our mailing list. Basically, we're mailing, hey, we're doing a Wordfence office hours, but we also really importantly mail that these types of vulnerabilities have been discovered. So this is information that you need in order to protect your site. We have a another post coming out later today. So if you want notifications about that, make sure that you are subscribed. You can just go to the wordfence.com site, scroll all the way down to the bottom, see the mailing list, and subscribe there. We also have another service called Fast or Slow, which launched a couple of months ago. And it just went through a sort of a re-architecture. And it now is, what the site does is basically tests your site's performance and tests it from multiple locations around the world. So you load up your site and you see how it's performing for you, but how's it performing for someone visiting your site on the other side of the world? If you're in the United States, how's an Australian viewing your site? Is their network latency? Is there a problem with your hosting provider? Is there a problem with how your theme is presenting information? It gives you so much information. You can go to fastorslow.com and put in your URL, and you can see how all of how your site is performing from up to 18 unique locations. You can also subscribe and get notifications from Fast or Slow. And this is all a free service. And it will mail you test results into the future. So you can see how your site is performing, kind of stay on top of that. It's really a great service. Another way that we give back to the community. Another thing I wanted to highlight is that we started a Reddit. If you're on reddit.com, we started an AMA in the WordPress subreddit. Mark Monder, our CEO, who is also in our chat today, if you want to say hi to Mark, because he's the one that makes all of this possible. Chloe and Ram are also over there answering questions about WordPress security. It's a very vendor neutral. It's not really going into Wordfence as much as we can do here today, but they go through all kinds of questions over there. They're going to be doing that for the rest of the day today. So if you have a question that is beyond the scope of alerts, head on over to Reddit and you can ask Chloe and Ram. Chloe is our I think she may be the most credentialed WordPress security expert in the world right now. She is amazing, finds vulnerabilities all the time, has done a number of different jobs within our organization, definitely the WordPress security expert leading the pack right now. And Ram is like pacing right with her. So you can definitely get your security questions answered over in that subreddit. So you can join us next week too, if you would like to see, or not next week, actually next week we're skipping because of the Memorial Day holiday, but on June 2nd, Chloe is going to join us. And she is going to demonstrate how these hacks actually happen. She is actually going to hack a WordPress site, and she's going to show you how intruders get in. And you're going to see exactly how that happens. And Chloe has a way of explaining things that really makes it so easy to understand. She's an excellent teacher. So this will really show you how hacks actually happen. You know, most of us, when we have a hack site, it's just like, well, how the heck did that happen? Chloe's going to show you how the heck that happens. And she's also going to put Wordfence on a site and hack it and show you how the Wordfence firewall is blocking those attempts. So don't miss that one. Hit that bell icon and you will get notified when that comes live. So if you need another alert in your life, that bell icon will do that here from YouTube. Okay, so those are all of my spiels, and Mark is putting all of Chloe's credentials in the chat.
That is like the alphabet soup of credentials right there. I mean, it's insane.
It is. She is just a rock star when it comes to WordPress security. When it comes to security as a whole, she is a rock star. And so there's also a video on our channel if you are interested in remote work at all. Chloe also, in addition to having all of these credentials and being the leader in WordPress security research in the world right now, she often does this from remote locations all over the world. She's definitely someone to watch. You can go follow her, InfoSec Chloe, on Twitter and see what Chloe is up to. So definitely follow her.
That's right.
How about we talk about some security alerts?
What? Is that what we're talking about
security
today?
alerts?
We'll totally talk about security alerts. Are you going to, do you have anything else you want to say, Kathy? Or are you going to launch in? Or let me just jump into it.
I had a list. There's a lot going on.
I know there's a lot going on.
This has been the crazy. We also have a podcast. If you're not listening to the podcast, I like over.
Oh wait!
I'm like, oh my god!
There's one more thing.
I'm trying to like keep up with everything that's going on in WordPress security. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, try to keep it to 20 minutes or less. I try to go 10 minutes. Really, that would be ideal, but there's just too much going on. So
Tons
anyway,
of
you don't even need to listen this week because they told you all of it.
We could just all go home now. Is that what you're telling me? Great.
Well, you don't want to go home because you're going to go home and you're going to have way too many security alerts. And we're going to teach you how to tune them so that they are specific to your site's needs. We have to go through all of the alerts that exist and then talk about how we can tune those. So there's something called alert fatigue. So alert fatigue, when you open up your email and you have, say you're managing 30 different WordPress sites and you have 30 different alerts from Wordfence. That's a lot of alerts. Which one's the most important? Which one's critical? Which site may have just gotten hacked? If you have too many alerts, you get what is called alert fatigue. So in security, a survey found that of all security alerts, this is not specific to WordPress, but 52% of all alerts were false alerts and 64% were redundant. So this is a problem with security as a whole. There's just so much noise, so many different alerts. There's so many emails. You end up deleting things and not reading them. You make assumptions that it's just the same alert that came in last time. Oh, well, Yoast updated again. Oh, I'll just deal with that later. It's kind of like from Stewie, that whole thing, mom. Okay, I'm not listening to Stewie anymore, right? Stewie from Family Guy, I've just tuned you out completely and I'm not listening anymore, even though, Stewie might be alerting that the house is on fire. So the more you're exposed to something, the more you tend to tolerate it or normalize it or ignore it. So we want to understand, make sure all of our alerts are actionable. Make sure you're the right person getting those alerts, customize alerts so that they're more specific. And then this is something that you need to revisit and adjust regularly. It's not just something, set and forget. You should, periodically look at your alerts and make sure that they are right for you. And then if, you're not getting enough alerts, then you don't know what's happening. You don't know that the house is on fire because Dewey's not even trying to tell you. You don't know that a customer locked themselves out of your account, out of their account, and they can't buy something. You don't realize when your site has a vulnerability. So we are here to show you where the sweet spot is, right, Tim?
Totally. So, today with discussing alerts, we're going to talk specifically in this section just about alerts that are inside the plugin itself. We're going to talk about the alerts that are in Wordfence Central, and Scott's going to discuss that in a little bit. But right now, we're just talking about the ones that are actually in the plugin. Alerts are very important. And I want to make sure you understand that a security product that doesn't tell you when something's wrong, it's not worth installing in the first place. You might as well not have security. When it comes to alerts, I found that there are two kinds of people. The first kind wants to see everything. I mean, every alert that they get, it doesn't matter what kind of alert it is, they want to see it. And they enjoy seeing what's going on in real time. I mean, it makes them, feel engaged with it. Looks like we lost Scott there for a second. The second kind of person doesn't really want to see the alerts as much as they just want to only see the ones that are actionable. And then they only want to be alerted when they need to actually do something. But there's actually a third kind of person when it comes to alerts. And these are the people that don't want to see alerts at all. And these are also the people that usually wind up coming to us to ask for a site cleaning. So I'm hoping that's nobody here, right? Because nobody wants to clean a site or have their site cleaned. Nobody wants to be hacked. So alerts are important. And the funny thing about that description of like those three different kinds of people is the people in the first category really tend to start becoming more like the people in the second category as time goes on. See, it's great when you get a brand new plugin and it's all bright and shiny and you love seeing what it's doing and you love hearing about what it's doing. But after a while, like Kathy said, you can get really overwhelmed with emails, especially if there's nothing, it's not something that you need to do something about. Actionable alerts are what's important. And that's what we're going to try to get you set up with today. So the question is how do you know what alerts to enable and what alerts to disable? Today, I want everybody to go on over to your WordPress site. If you got, I'm going to go ahead and screen share one right here in just about 2 seconds. Where in the heck is my screen share button? There it is. And let's make sure we're on the actual page that we're looking at. I think that this is it right here. Oops, that's not the right button. Okay, can everybody see that one?
I can see.
That's totally
Yes.
not the right screen. Hold on a second.
Oh,
I totally shared the wrong one. All right there. Here we go. Okay, great. So this is your Wordfence page and the Wordfence plugin page, the Wordfence dashboard. We're going to go over to the global options menu right here. And we're going to take a look inside. Now, I wanted to point out just briefly, inside the global general Wordfence options section, this is actually where you put down where to send the alerts. It's the email address that you entered when you first installed. It's important to know that you can send as many, different people email addresses as you want inside there. All you have to do is separate them with a comma. And that way, if you have multiple people that need to see the alerts, this way you can just add them all if they need to see the alerts, and so that everybody gets them, or maybe a team email or something like that. That would go right here in this box. But we're going to skip down to the email alert preferences, which is what we really want to talk about today. All right, these are all the different alerts that you can get. You can pick and choose which ones you want to see, but today I'm going to show you my short list of the ones that I think you can turn off and still stay on top of things, because that's really what we're talking about here. The first three alerts right here: email me when Wordfence is automatically updated, email me if Wordfence is deactivated, email me if the firewall is turned off, are really informational kind of alerts. It is kind of important to know about the Wordfence being deactivated. There may have been a problem in an automatic update and it caused it to be deactivated. So it is something you want to pay attention to if you have that. Also, you may have like with the firewall turned off, you may have another admin that got on and did something, install a crazy plugin that does things a little weird that we can't possibly anticipate, and they may have turned the firewall off to do whatever it is that they wanted to do, and then just forgot to turn it back on, which basically leaves you unprotected. So you definitely want to know about that. So make sure that you have those alerts turned on. Those are things that you should pay attention to. They're informational, but it's important to know. On the next level, and I think Scott's going to talk more about this. Let me copy and paste this link real quick and put it in chat. All right, are we still on my screen here? Great. The next one is alert me about scan results of this severity level or greater. Now, I know some people don't like plugin updates, emails that we send out those. They kind of find that that's kind of annoying, especially if you're one of those people, and everybody should be, that keeps your plugins updated on a schedule, or maybe does it like once a week, once every 2 weeks or whatever, but tries to stay on top of like that. If you're doing that, you are way ahead of the curve. You are much better than probably about 60% of the people, because that's very important to keep your site safe, is to keep things updated and current. What I usually recommend that people set this at is set this to high if you don't want to see plugin updates. And that way, if you set it high and critical alerts only, you're going to basically, the only time you see a plugin update notification, it's when you have a plugin or a theme with a known vulnerability installed. And if you have one of those guys installed, you definitely need to stay on top of. You may need to make sure that you either replace that plugin with something else, or you get it updated if there's a patch out. A lot of times we will have already had a firewall rule written for it, but I think it's just generally good practice to make sure that you're on top of it, you're keeping things updated, and then you're double covered, with the firewall and with making sure that your plugin is updated so it doesn't have that vulnerability anymore. Now, I want to talk briefly about the next little series of things. These are, what do I call them? These next alerts that I'm going to tell you that you can turn off are what I call Suckup alerts. Now, what do I mean by Suckup alerts? I mean, it's an alert that basically tells you it's doing its job. I want you to think way back to my childhood, when my little brother would say stupid crap like, "Oh, Mom, look, I made my bed. Oh, Mom, look, I washed the dishes. Mom, look at this test I got, the grade I got on my math test." He wasn't really talking about what he did. He was just basically saying, "Hey, Mom, Tim did not make his bed. He did not wash the dishes, and he sure did not get a good grade in math." However, I digress. What I'm talking about is basically these alerts that are basically just telling you that Wordfence is doing its job. And these are the alerts that are fun to get when you've just installed the plugin and you want to see, oh, wow, Wordfence is working. It's protecting me. I can see these sort of things. So those are good to have. This is the alert when the IP address is blocked, alert when someone is locked out from login, and alert when the lost password form is used for a valid user. All these things, again, are just basically telling you Wordfence did its job. So after the first week, when you're kind of starting to get a lot, you're used to it, you might want to turn these alerts off, because if somebody legit gets locked out, they are going to contact you. They're going to let you know, and they're going to tell you, hey, I'm locked out or whatever, and you can take care of that. But taking care off like these alerts right here, 1, 2, and 3. Well, oops, sorry, that one right there will likely cut down, I want to say probably a good 70% of your email traffic that you get, maybe even more, higher than that. Depends on how much traffic your site gets. So you'll notice I did leave on this one right here, alert when someone is blocked from logging in for using a password found in a breach. What do I mean by that? That's like passwords that were stolen. And let's see, Experian.com is one. I'm trying to think of the hotel. It was some hotels that were hit too, wasn't it, Scott? Do you remember?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember, but any of those big
Marriott,
sites,
I think.
yeah, Marriott. All that keeps coming to mind is Ashley Madison, and I'm sure that's that's just the worst example ever. But basically, hackers use these lists of passwords that are harvested as like a dictionary to try brute force attacks on sites, and they do that because they know that many people use the same password everywhere, or multiple places, and they're counting on the fact that that password has been used in, it was found in that hack, so it's a legit password someone's used, and hopefully it's on your site or whichever site they're brute forcing. So I like to know when somebody who has login privileges to the site, anybody that has login privileges to my site, I want to know if they're using a weak password, and that is a huge red flag right there. You really need to make sure it gives you the chance to go back to that person and say, hey, let me explain this to you. And then the cool part about it is, even if you're like running a site where customers or visitors log in, you can communicate this stuff to them, because a lot of times they're not aware of that. The danger of you reusing a password, and you can actually help them by showing them, hey, and that just, really is just kind of a value add to me. When you have somebody takes some extra time to reach out and tell somebody and give them some education so that they don't, or possibly don't have a, some sort of their bank account doesn't get hacked or whatever, or compromised. This is a huge thing. And it's like I said, it's very important to have there. This other next little alert, alert me when someone with admin access signs in. Now, at my sites, I'm usually the only admin, and nothing irritates me more than getting an email saying I logged in right after I logged in, because I'm the admin. I know I logged in. I don't need a notification about it. And I used to uncheck this all the time, but the dev team is really responsive when I whine about stuff. And this is one of those things they whined about. They've put this sub option here that says only alert me when that administrator signs in from a new device or a location. If I sign in and I'm from, Knoxville, I don't want an email about it. But if I suddenly sign in from Cambodia, I want to know, and I want to know really fast, because then I have a problem. The cool thing also here is that if you've got two-factor authentication, we've got two-factor authentication free included in the plugin, free and premium. If you're using that, you probably won't ever have this problem. So if you guys, that's my pitch for 2FA. If you guys aren't using 2FA, you should really do that. It really kind of locks your account down and makes it much more safe. Okay. You can also do that same thing when have an alert for alert me when a non-admin user signs in, and you have that same sub option right there. If you're running a site that has a lot of users, man, you most certainly do not want to turn that on. If you have like some 4 or 5 editors, and you've got some other people that log in to do functions, you might want to turn that on. If that's handy for you, you can do that. Alert me when there's a large increase in attacks detected on my site. I always like to leave that checked. Basically just sends you alert when when the attacks start ramping up and you start seeing more and more login attempts, from bots or scripts. So it's always good. When you see that, it's important to know, don't panic. Don't. What you can use it for, what I use it for, is basically just as a reminder that says, hey, I need to go check my site out. I just want to look at the scans. I want to make sure I don't have any outdated plugins, anything that needs to be updated. I want to make sure that everything looks good, and so that I'm not worried these guys are going to get in, because I'm using two-factor authentication, right? You're using two-factor authentication. So I'm not worried about that, but just use it as a reminder to kind of go take a look at your security posture and see how you are doing, if everything looks great, and things like that. That just helps you keep safe. Again, we just don't want you to be complacent. Once you get complacent from too many emails, you stop paying attention, and that's usually when the trouble starts. The last option we have there in the email alerts is the maximum email alerts that Wordfence will send you in an hour. So I love that one, because even if you get like a big, let's say you get attacked, have a brute force attack, and you have lots of like these login attempts, and let's say you were silly and you left that thing on there about IPs getting locked out, and you suddenly start getting all these emails. If you set that at a good number, like a reasonable number per hour, you won't sit there and have to clean out your inbox for the next 6 weeks, just from one attack. I usually set it to about 4, but you can set it to whatever you want. Please remember that 0 means unlimited. So don't do unlimited alerts. And that's basically your whole alerts right there from inside the plugin. And the ones that I turn on, turn off, if you do them like that, the way that I've just showed you, super easy to manage, and you're not overwhelmed by stuff. And that is really it in a nutshell, I think. Isn't it? Yeah, it is.
Great.
And
yeah,
so I'm
it
just going
sounds
to pitch it
great.
back to Kathy.
So if you have them all checked, you are guaranteeing alert fatigue. If you have them all unchecked, you're guaranteeing you're going to miss something. So each of you has a different, one of the powers of WordPress is that you can do so many different things with it. You can have an e-commerce site, you can have a learning management system and teach classes. You could have just a blog, you could have a newspaper and have multiple editors logging in. So the needs of each individual site are going to be different. And one of the powerful things that Wordfence does is it takes a lot of those different types of uses of WordPress into consideration so that you can tune those alerts. So if you're just starting out with a learning management system and you really want to know if your students are like engaging with your content, turn on that alert that says that a non-admin user is logging in. Then you know that your customers are coming in and engaging with your site. But if you're like crazy busy and you have a learning management system that has hundreds of customers, hundreds of students engaging with your content, do you want to know when they're all logging in, or is that going to drive you insane? Probably. So you're going to have to make those kinds of decisions, knowing what alerts are available to you. You're going to have to make decisions based on what your site's specific needs are. And hopefully this information is giving you some ideas. And we have some additional alerting capabilities in Wordfence Central, don't we, Scott?
We absolutely do. I see we're getting
Awesome.
lots of good questions as well. So
great.
Really nice seeing that in the chat. Okay, I'm going to do a screen share here. So
okay,
let me know if you can see my screen.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Okay, so we're going to go over Wordfence Central alerts, and this is another layer of alerts for your site. So I'm going to show you how to get to the Wordfence Central dashboard, which we're at right here, and then where to configure your alerts. And then we're going to talk about the alert severity. That way, like Kathy and Tim talked about, you don't get overwhelmed. You'll kind of know what you're going to be getting just by getting familiar with the different severities in the alerts. And then we're going to go through the different settings that we offer here. So let's first take a look at the wordfence.com page here. So once you log in, if you register an account and you log in, you'll have 2 ways to get to Central from the home page. You'll see the Central link here and your profile button over here. If you click either of those, you're going to end up on the Central page here. So one of the first things you're going to notice is that we don't have any sites connected currently. And we see the message down here that no sites are connected. So you might be confused initially. You might be thinking, okay, I have 5 premium licenses. As you can see, we have a link for the premium license page down here and up here as well. So you can go over, check those out, add them to Central with the Add New Site button up here, or connect a site down here. If you're brand new to Central and you're not familiar with it yet, we had an office hours episode on May 5th that you can check out on the YouTube channel. And Kathy gave a great overview of setting up Central, going through all the features and the different things that it can do for you. So I recommend starting there. We also have other videos on YouTube that you can reference if you need any help. And we have great documentation for this as well. So let's first look at the settings page for the alerts. So we're going to assume that we have some sites connected here for this little demo. And the site I'm going to be working with is one of our demo sites. And Tim just went over this email alert preferences area right here, and I'll reference that a few times as well. So we're going to assume that that site is connected here, and we're going to go to this settings icon up here in the corner. And this is where we access our alerts. By default, you may not see anything selected here. And all of these settings, one thing to keep in mind is all of these settings only apply to the sites that you have connected to Central. So you might have 10 premium licenses, but only 5 sites connected to Central. You might not have any premium licenses and a bunch of sites connected to Central. So with Wordfence Central, it's a dashboard where you can add the sites that you have Wordfence on your site and monitor the security. You'll see scan results. The last time it was scanned, you can start scans from the dashboard. You can set up templates. So it's a great place to monitor your free and premium sites. And the service itself, Wordfence Central, is free. So from our settings area, first thing we're going to look at is our documentation here in the corner. Learn more about settings. This is where we're going to see our alerts. So on the right-hand side here, and Tim put a link in the chat, I believe, for the alerts as well. That'll be under dashboard. And these, I feel, are one of the more important things just with relation to alert fatigue. If you know these well and you're familiar with Wordfence, or you've been using it for a few weeks or a few months or longer, you probably have a general idea of these. But if you're just setting up email alerts or you're just setting up the central alerts, getting familiar with these will help make sure that you don't burn yourself out on the notifications. And we'll go over a few of these. So under critical, you might see that the scanner picked up a file matching one of our malware signatures. That would be something that I would probably want to be alerted about as a priority. Maybe one of your config files is publicly accessible. That might be like an htaccess file, php.ini file. That would also be considered a critical alert. Now, high severity, you might see your IP listed on a spam blacklist. One of your post titles might have suspicious content. And maybe your IP detection is misconfigured, which can cause issues as well. So that's another high severity alerts, typically something that I want to see pretty quickly. Now, where a lot of people might want to focus on is the medium severity scan alerts. These can be pretty common with theme and plugin updates. So if you notice you're getting too many alerts, setting your email alert preferences in the Wordfence plugin to only alert for high severity and above might be a good start. And that's what Tim just showed earlier. Alert me with scan results of this severity level or greater. So now that we have a general idea of those severities and where to find them, we can take a look at these settings here. So that pretty much covers this top area. However, you will notice rather than just getting email alerts, we have the option for both SMS and Slack alerts. So if you're not familiar with Slack, Slack is a platform to communicate and collaborate with your team on projects. So if you don't use Slack or if you're not interested in that, you can leave those as is, and it's only used if you set up the Slack integration on the bottom there. So I'm just going to select some of these for how I may generally set them up. These are completely up to you. However you want to set these up to give more attention to your site. So for the critical alerts, as I mentioned, that might be something I want to see immediately. A file was caught by our scan that matches one of our malware patterns. I might want to get that via text and in the Slack. The same goes with the high severity findings. The high severity were the post titles that have suspicious content. Maybe the site's compromised, somebody changed something on the site. You might want to look at that quick. If the IP detection on your site is misconfigured, that's something else that you might want to take a look at. Now for this demo, medium and low, maybe I don't want to get too many alerts. So I'm going to leave these off for now, but that brings us to the daily digest. This could sort of cover a majority of your alerts that you're not gonna immediately jump on your site to fix. And I might consider those the medium alerts. Now, as Tim said earlier, it's very important to update your plugins and themes. But we get alerts for them sometimes and we don't always get right to it. So if you don't want to get burned out with alerts, this is something you could leave disabled for now. And then you could enable your daily digest. And what the daily digest is it's a once every 24 hours alert come to your email, SMS, or Slack. And it gives you an overview of the number and severity of security events, including scan findings from all of the sites that you have connected to Central. So if you're just gonna focus on getting critical alerts via SMS, and then maybe set the daily digest up, you can check over review of your site security at the end of the day. That would be one way to do that. For the other scan events, Tim went over some of these just a few moments ago, and these are some important events that you can set up. And the cool thing here is you have access to email, but we also include the SMS and Slack options here. So we'll go over these real quick. You might want to be alerted via one of these three platforms if Wordfence is automatically updated, if you have that enabled in Wordfence. The same goes for if Wordfence is deactivated. Do you want to be alerted via email, SMS, or Slack? If somebody with administrator access signs in, this is something that I typically enable. It might not be something that I want to look at right away. But I'm usually, like Tim said, the only administrator that logs onto my sites. So I might get a text and an email for an administrator signing in, but maybe when an administrator signs in from a new device or location, I get an alert all across the board, just to be sure that it isn't something malicious. When somebody's blocked from logging in using a password in the breach, maybe I want to get an email and a Slack notification for that. And when there's a large increase, Tim covered this earlier, what I like to do, and we have a lot of people that write in, they get an email saying that the real-time blacklist or one of the firewall in general made a few hundred blocks in a very short time. What are you supposed to do? One good thing is if you set up an alert for it and you get the email, go onto the site, give it a quick look, make sure everything's loading correctly, nothing looks out of place. If your site isn't configured very well, or if your memory usage is just not good in general, a large attack could cause issues for the site. So having this enabled and checking out the site in those situations is a good idea. That brings us to this bottom section here. And this setting here is pretty important. Send alerts from individual sites. If you have this set to no, your sites that are connected to Central will not send out alerts from the email alert section here that Tim went over. And where this is on your site in the Wordfence plugin under all options in the email alert preferences. These typically, when you set this up, send out to this email address up here in general Wordfence options. So in Wordfence Central, if you connect your sites and you turn this option to no, you will not be sending alerts from the individual sites. You'll instead be relying on the alerts that you set up here in Central. And you could do that if you just wanted to receive alerts via SMS or Slack and you didn't want email alerts at all. That would be one way to do that. If you set this to yes, you will have notifications sending out from your site as well as what you set up here in Slack. Now, keep in mind, as I mentioned earlier, these settings in Central only affect sites that you have connected to Central. So with this set to yes, you will send out the alerts from the Wordfence plugin, and you as well will get the alerts that you have set up here. It kind of gives you a second layer of alerting. And what you can do with that is if you have a partner or an administrator or a webmaster who also watches over the site, maybe you set your site up a year ago and you're receiving some notifications, maybe just the really important ones, and you get those directly to your email here. You can then set the site up in Central, and maybe you want to send critical and high alerts to the phone number of your administrator or whoever's watching over the site. The same goes with the email. This gives you another branch of notifications that you can set up. You can use them all for you specifically with a mobile and email, or you could have multiple people here. And just like in the plugin, these emails and mobile numbers can be set up comma separated, so you can set multiple up there. And it's a great way to add another layer of security via alerts. As I mentioned earlier, you want to keep in mind the differences between these severities. We posted a link in the chat, and you have a link to the documentation up here. And that way you don't wear yourself out with too many alerts. You want to know what you want to receive and what those alerts fall under in the severity, and then choose where those get sent to. Anything important I would be able to see right off the bat, and I usually use email or SMS for that. And then the daily digest is excellent for updating plugins and themes if you don't get to your site all the time to do that immediately. So that is Wordfence Central Alerts in a nutshell. I think I covered everything there. What do you think, Kathy?
I think you got it. I think you did a great job. Wordfence Central is such an amazing tool, and Scott really did a great job showing all the different ways that you can handle the alerts, as well as sort of an understanding of the different types of severity and how you can control those. Different alerting types of can now go to SMS. If there's malware on your site, you want to know, you're at Starbucks getting a coffee and you want your phone to go off if there's malware on your site. I do. So these gives you some, Scott really gives you an idea of everything that's available to you. And once again, you're going to have to start making decisions based on your specific site and the needs of your specific site. Obviously, if you're at Starbucks, you probably don't want an alert that, someone's logging in. Maybe you do. Maybe if you're just getting started and you want to know that a customer is logging in and doing a repeat order. Maybe that's something that's going to excite you, that's going to motivate you. But if you have, tons of customers and you've been working on your site for a while, you probably don't want that. That's probably going to be to alert fatigue. So hopefully this presentation has given you some ideas. At the take a look at your alerts and your team. If you have, are you the right person that is getting alerts? I know a number of our enterprise customers have teams of people that are managing multiple sites, and a lot of them do some creative things with email and email filtering and email forwarding. So take a look at that. Something that you need to do, if you haven't done so yet, is make sure that you're signed up to our mailing list. Go to wordfence.com, scroll to the bottom, make sure that you're getting alerts from us, because these are important alerts. We rarely mail on anything other than alerts about security vulnerabilities. We have new research coming out today, not real like, oh my gosh, go patch everything, but some research that's going to explain how some creative hacking was done. Understanding that is important for you to know so that you understand what hackers are doing and how creative they can be in exploiting these types of vulnerabilities. So make sure you're subscribed to that mailing list. If you haven't checked out Fast or Slow, I know there's been some discussion in the chat about Fast or Slow. This is a new service that Wordfence has. Make sure that you go test your site speed. See if there is some room for improvement for your site. You can test your site speed on 8 different locations and see all of that in one report. If this video has been helpful for you, if you've learned one thing, hit like, smash that like button, as they say. Make sure you're subscribed to our YouTube channel, because we will be doing this every week. We're skipping next week, but in 2 weeks, we will have Chloe Chamberlain, our security researcher who is finding numerous vulnerabilities lately and is sort of a thought leader in the WordPress security space at the moment. She will be joining us and showing exactly how hackers get into a WordPress site, doing a little bit of live hacking. Chloe's also an amazing human being and also explains things incredibly well. So join us when she is live hacking on June 2nd. Hit that bell icon if you are subscribing to our YouTube channel, and you'll get listening to us talk about security. You are now a security expert, so make sure you share this video with your friends and your family members and other people who are maybe just getting started in WordPress, so that they can understand how important security is. WordPress is powering 1/3 of the internet right now, and the threats that are coming at WordPress are unparalleled. The other content management systems don't see what we see. One thing we talked about in the chat a little bit is nulled themes and plugins. And this is a threat that exists out in the WordPress space. Now, there's a lot of people who want things for free, understandably. It's always great to like go find a coupon to, get an extra taco at Rubio's. I don't even know if that's a nationwide chain, but if you want to, coupons are great. Finding free things are great, but if you do a search for free plugins or nulled plugins, what this basically means is that it is a plugin or a theme that has the premium part stripped out, or it appears to have the premium part stripped out. You may install it and it looks like you have premium or a pro version of a particular plugin or theme. However, it often just has a toggle that is telling you that you're getting all of premium. Like with Wordfence, there's a few Wordfence nulled plugins out there. It's not really Wordfence Premium, however. Wordfence Premium, it has to connect to our servers, and we have, obviously security in place to make sure that, nulled plugins aren't doing that. Now, last year we started noticing a campaign. It is WPVCD. And if you do a search on our blog for some of this research that we published last year, this was a nulled, and Tim just posted that in the chat. It is a nulled campaign, nulled theme and plugin campaign that has a file called WPVCD in it. And it's basically you're installing malware on your own site. So it's really important that you and other WordPress users do not use nulled themes and plugins, because you think you're getting something for free. And these hackers are using the psychology of people's desire to get, the free taco. However, you're actually installing malware on your site. So it's really important that you don't do that. And it's not just Wordfence that, has a WPVCD file. It's tons of different themes, tons of different plugins. And so this campaign is still kind of happening out there in the WordPress space. So, again, something to share with your friends and family who may be using WordPress, maybe getting started with WordPress for the very first time and are unaware of the threats that exist against the world's largest content management system. So definitely share that knowledge and make sure people don't install it. There's so many free plugins in the repo, right? There's over 50,000 of them. You're going to find a free solution that does whatever it needs. Now, obviously, we have a team of security researchers, and we have a team of customers. Very few marketing people. It's just, marketing.
Trojan doctor.
Our team is highly technical.
Highly
Our team is highly technical, and they are committed to making Wordfence over 3 million sites. There is a premium component. What do you get when you sign up for premium? You get firewall rules and malware signatures immediately upon publication. As soon as we see a threat, boom, our premium customers are protected. Free users get that protection, but 30 days later. Now, obviously, if you're keeping every update, you're probably going to be okay. In that 30-day period, make sure that you're protected before anyone knows that vulnerability might exist. We're writing firewall rules all the time. We have a very technical and highly credentialed threat intelligence team who does that. We also have a customer service team that makes sure that people like you get the most out of Wordfence. If you go to the wordpress.org repository, go to wordpress.org/plugin/Wordfence, and you look at the reviews about Wordfence, you're going to see most of those reviews are about our team and how they go above and beyond in trying to help our customers understand what's happening with their site. A lot of times our customer service team, you guys, you get stuff sometimes coming in and it looks like it might be a security issue to the customer, but you find out that it's something else. Does that happen fairly often?
It does, but it's not somebody else's issue. We at least try to send you away if you ask us a question about something. Hey, I've seen this error and I'm concerned about it. We try to tell you whether or not it is a security concern, and if it's just something like there's an error in another plugin or something, we try to tell you what the problem is, if we can, reasonably can, and just so even if we can't solve your problem, we can at least send you to the other to ask. Because sometimes that's the problem. Right. You just don't know what to ask. It's just a big, scary issue on your screen and you don't know what's going on.
Right, right. So our customer service team is there to help you solve security. Is our real-time blacklist. You know, because Wordfence is installed on 3 million sites worldwide, we see those attacks coming at the world's most popular content management system. We see the attackers. We write about them. If you go look at our blog, there is research on our blog where we are looking at where these attacks are coming from and what their customers are funding that kind of research to keep everyone in the WordPress community safer. But that real-time blacklist, when we see those IP addresses that are attacking WordPress, premium customers block those IP addresses. So even if you have a vulnerability on your site, that IP address is blocked. If you have are using a bad password and their brute force attack is coming at your site, you're protected because premium is blocking any access from those attacking IP addresses. You should still use a good IP or a good password, but that IP address is going to be blocked. And most of the attacks coming at WordPress isn't just, you know, a guy in a hoodie. It is a guy in a hoodie who's writing well, maybe he's not even wearing a hoodie, but there's a guy who's written, or a girl who has written, that is attacking, you know, thousands of sites, millions of sites. And that's the threat intelligence that we're seeing. So being able to block those types of attacks coming at WordPress, it buys you time. It makes your site safer. It makes sure that your site is more available to the customers that want to access your content or buy things from you or participate in your learning management courses. Whatever you're trying to do, it makes your site more available to the real visitors rather than those attacking IP addresses. So premium basically gets you that and a little bit more. Anyway, we are having technical issues with some buffering. So I think it's probably time to wrap things up anyway. Tim?
Yeah, that sounds like a great idea.
Anything you, yeah. Well, I think it's probably Zoom, but thank you everyone for sticking with us. Thank you for being here today. Go subscribe to our mailing list and watch for our next edition of Wordfence Office Hours, where we will hack some sites.
Yeah, and have a great weekend. By, good holiday next weekend. Enjoy your time off.
Definitely. Bye, everyone.
Bye, guys. Have a good one.